why, after getting the husband, the children, the family brand, the empire, the security, the image, the adoration, why is there still this itch to let the audience know? But just so we're clear here, I was the chooser. A little Jada Pinkett Jr., so to speak. That is the part. That is the frickin' disease. That is the drag. You got the ring, you got the name, you got the life, but you still wanted the higher seat in the story. And that is why people side eye it, because it is never just honesty, it's hierarchy. It's that King Nene bullshit. It is that soft little female flex where a woman publicly lowers a man by a half inch just to make herself feel 1 inch taller. Not a mile, not a foot, just enough to let the world know I was not gagging over him. Girl, we can tell. That is the problem. And let's talk about the loophole women get. Because if a husband sat on a major platform and said, well, my wife really wasn't my type back then. Oh, they would drag that man like a busted suitcase through every app on this internet. He would be called emotionally abusive, narcissistic, cold, dismissive, immature, cruel. There would be a licensed therapist stitching up the clip by lunchtime. But when a woman does it, it's somehow framed as vulnerability, reflection, growth, teenage insecurity, softness, healing. But no, sometimes shade is just freaking shade, even in pretty lip gloss. And that is what makes this so delicious, right? Because Aisha herself basically admitted it was disrespectful, which means the read wrote itself. Thank you, sister. You saved everybody time. But what fascinates me is how often modern women want credit for two opposite things at once. They want the public to admire their husband and also admire their reluctance to admire him. They want the fairy tale, but also the ego of the reluctant queen. They want the good man, the stable man, the disciplined man, the talented man, the faithful man, the family man. But then they still need one line in the script that says, don't get it twisted, baby. He had to convince me. Convince you of what exactly? That water is wet? That Steph Curry might be a catch? Ma'am. This is not a man selling incense outside of a train station. This is Stephen Curry, a generational talent, a polished public image, a provider, a husband, a cultural golden boy. And you still wanted us to know you were unconvinced? That is not romance. That is branding. And yes, 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 before somebody clutches a moral pearl and faints in the comments, she said she was young. She said she doubted herself. She said she thought she was not his type. Understood, received, filed away in the rose filing cabinet. But insecurity does not magically become harmless because it is feminine. Sometimes insecure women wound men in public and call it self-protection, the audacity. Sometimes they lower a man before he has the chance to reject them. Sometimes they rewrite the origin story so they never look like the one who wanted more. That is not always healing. Sometimes that is just preemptive disrespect in a satin dress. And poor Steph, well, not poor, because he is rich, moisturized, successful, beloved, and spiritually sponsored by every middle class marriage fantasy in America, including mine. But still, Steph did what good public husbands are trained to do. He smiled through it. He took it. He stayed gracious. He kept the family image clean, never looked wounded, never make the woman look cruel is what he did, because men are expected to absorb those little humiliations elegantly.